Hi there, I'm Lisa Vandenberg with the Ways of Wisdom, helping you to hear God, get His daily guidance, and live life abundantly. On this channel, we love sharing tips and tools on how to walk through your everyday life with God. So if you're new here, consider subscribing, sharing, and clicking the notification bell. On this episode of Adventures with Jesus today, we're going to be talking about what it looks like to literally walk through everyday life with the Lord in all of the circumstances of our lives. I remember about 11 years ago, I had found a lump and I went to the doctor to check this lump out. It was unusual and I thought, no, I better go and get this checked out. And I was sitting in his office and he looked at me and he said, I'm sorry to let you know, but you have cancer. Go and see the nurse next door. And it had been a couple of days between when they'd taken the sample and when I was sitting in the doctor's office, and I'd had these couple of days to sit and talk to the Lord about what was going on and what would happen if the diagnosis was that I did have cancer and what would happen if it didn't. And of course, we're all praying that it wasn't cancer, but somehow I knew that there was a little something more in this scenario that God had for me. So I'm sitting in the office and he says, I'm sorry you have cancer. And I looked at him and I found out of my belly, out of my mouth was coming. I said, don't worry, it's okay. I know Jesus, he'll see me through. And it was such a reaction. It was such a natural instinct for it to come out as I'd walked with him these couple of days and said, okay, Lord, regardless of what the outcome is, I am sticking with you. You are my God. I'm sticking with you. I'm going to walk this journey with you. So I go next door and I see the nurse, and long story short, I go into hospital and then I need to start radiotherapy treatment, right? So radiotherapy treatment is 5 minutes treatment every weekday for 6 weeks in my case. And I remember setting out on the first morning. I walked to my appointment. The hospital was about 45 minutes away. And remember those little iPods? I had a little iPod and I clipped it onto my shirt and I downloaded some free podcasts and I was going to listen to podcasts as I walked. But I remember setting out, and circumstances in our lives were not good at the time. And I remember setting off and saying to God, really, God, I've got cancer. My husband is working away from home, so he can't be with me. And the circumstances that with our money doesn't look so good right now, so I need to have to walk to the appointments. And I'll never forget what he said. He said to me, Lisa, I've given you 45 minutes there and 45 minutes back, an hour and a half every day of uninterrupted time. Will you come on an adventure with me? And I stopped in my tracks and I said, Lord, this is not an adventure. To me, an adventure is sitting on the front seat of a roller coaster and having fun. An adventure is going hiking. It's full of expectation and hope and fun. And having cancer in these circumstances is not fun, God. And he said something that forever shifted my attitude. And I've been walking this out for 12 years now. He said, Lisa, an adventure is not what you do, it's who you do it with. So let me repeat that. An adventure is not what you do, it's who you do it with. And I realized in that moment that Jesus was giving me an invitation to walk through this journey with a diagnosis of cancer with him, to be able to see what it would be like to go through something that doesn't look good and can be scary, right? And go through it with him. Well, let me tell you, my friends, it was like the story of when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into the fire. You know, how many times could God have rescued them? He could have made them not go before the king. He could have made them not be marched out of the place by the gods. He could have made them not go into the fiery furnace room. I mean, there are so many scenarios of when God could have rescued them or shown himself strong or taken them out of the circumstances, right? And I'm sure they had faith for every single one. They were going to be burned alive, right? I'm sure they had faith in every single one. But even up to the time when somebody else was thrown into the fire before them, and even the people that were with them were burned up, they looked and they said, no matter what happens to us, God is still our number one. You are still our first choice, Lord. And do you remember the story? They get put into the fiery furnace and not even, they stand there. Can you imagine looking through the hole in the kiln, right? And looking at them and going like, they're still standing there. And then when they looked a little closer, they saw a fourth person in the fire with those three guys. And by the time they'd been in there a little bit and they saw that nothing was happening to them, they opened up the doors and those three men walked back out again. And it says their clothes didn't even smell like smoke. And I don't know about you, but when I've been sitting next to a fire for a little while, your clothes smell like smoke, right? They didn't even smell like smoke. Then we come to Jesus. Jesus is being told that he knows from his Father that he's going to have to go to the cross. And he goes up to the Garden of Gethsemane with the guys and he says, I'm going to pray about this. And it says he was in such distress that he sweat blood, asking God, please, if there's any chance that this can be taken away from me, if there's any chance I don't have to go through this, please will you take it away from me? And the Lord said to him, son, this is what I need done. And Jesus said to him, Lord, not my will, but yours be done. You know, when that is our heart posture, when we realize that there will be circumstances through life, whether it's a cancer diagnosis, whether it's, you know, like the guys being thrown into a fiery furnace, whether it's having to go to the cross, no matter what it is in our lives, if God has a purpose for it, then we know that no matter what the outcome is here on earth, walking with him is the reward. Walking with him is the adventure. Walking with him is the better path than anything we can ever dream up or ask, right? Nothing we can think of is as great as the purpose of what God needed done. In my own journey with cancer, during those 6 weeks of treatments, it's where I learned to pray for a room full of people without even opening my mouth. It's where I learned to listen to the Lord and give specific encouragement to people in different scenarios and situations. It's where I learned how to intercede for people, to feel what was going on in other people's lives and to pray with the Lord and see what he wanted done and talk to them and encourage them. It's where I learned how to persevere. My treatment went the whole 6 weeks and it's not fun. By the end of those 6 weeks, you are so exhausted, you can barely do anything, exhausted and sore, right? But I learned so much about walking through a hard circumstance with the Lord that still marks me to this day, that set up the foundation of my relationship with Jesus, right? It's even the name of this podcast, Adventures with Jesus Today, came out of that period. The guys in the kiln, the king needed to see that these 3 young men who said, we will not turn our face away from God, he is always our first choice. He needed to see that happen and needed to see them come out in order for him to turn to the Lord. And we all know, of course, that Jesus needed to go to the cross in order to pay the price. The wages of sin is death, in order to bring us back home, to bring you and me back home to the loving arms of the Father. And in none of those 3 scenarios would we have thought, from the things that were happening in front of us, that God has this magnificent, bigger plan in place that we couldn't even see. But in all the circumstances, we just got to say, God, I don't know what's going on, but I trust you. I trust that what you're doing has a bigger goal and a bigger outcome than I could even imagine. So my friend, what's happening in your life right now that you would see as maybe, oh, God hasn't answered my prayer, or this is too hard to go through, or this being a Christian thing is too difficult for me to walk through, when it's really an invitation from God to trust him at a higher level, to have faith in his goodness in your life, in all the fruit that he wants to bring out of your life, the character development, the ways he wants to show you how to pray in different circumstances than you ever have before. Trust him and believe in him in ways that you never have before, because maybe you're in a unique situation now. This is the beautiful invitation that hardship brings. You know, in James 1 we hear, count it all joy when you encounter various trials and tribulations, right? Because they develop in us character. In John 16:33, Jesus says, you will have trouble in this world, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. There are so many beautiful character development, relationship development opportunities in things that we think look hard. And all we need to do is just look up and say, God, I trust you. No matter what happens, you are my number one. I will not go anywhere else. I will not worship anything else. I will not grow weary. I'm going to hold on to you. Holy Spirit, give me the strength. Give me the grace. Show me the mercy to help me persevere through this and persevere in holding on to you to see what you want done. That is a beautiful place to be. It delights God's heart. And I promise you, my friend, it will bear greater fruit in your life than any kind of easy life ever would. So as always, Jesus is inviting you on this adventure today. Will you accept? If you would love to know how to walk through these periods with other people, then we have some resources below for you, below this video. And we've got some journaling questions that you can just take in your quiet time and talk through with the Lord. We have some links for some helpful resources, and we love doing life with you and walking through life with you. So like and share and subscribe to this video. There's encouragement that comes out every single week. And we love to connect you with resources that will help you walk through everyday life with Jesus. Bless you, bless you, bless you. And I'll see you next time.